Hi everyone, and welcome to the LAAGCast. It is the week of April 12th, 2018. We are the League of Above Average Gamers. With me are my co-hosts, Max.
Hey.
And Will.
Howdy.
And I'm Sam. So let's get started, guys.
All right, Will. So help me out. What do you think the stupidest thing this week was?
All right, so there's this games journalist. She works for a currently unannounced outlet.
Oh.
So, you know, she's big. Her name is Amanda Farrow. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Okay.
And, she made a wild claim that at a PAX event, she got teabagged by just a game staff member who was essentially just a guy to fill in during a game.
Now, let me be real clear here. I just want to be sure for all the listeners as well. This person grabbed this game journalist by the shoulders and threw her down on the ground and stood over her. And is this what happened?
No, so this is in a game, which I believe was Halo 5. She supposedly got killed by the player, and then the player proceeded to walk over to her corpse and proceed to crouch repeatedly, which is Halo teabagging, which is what made it popular in culture in the first place. You know.
Now, I heard a little bit about this, and I was under the impression that the teabagger in question thought that he was teabagging someone else, someone that he knew, and not some games journalist. Is this true?
So here's the interesting thing. While I was reading up on this, it turns out that nobody really knows who the teabagger is, except for that they're supposed to work for 1047 Games.
Okay.
And 1047 Games says that they had nobody actively playing in anything at the time this supposedly occurred.
Okay.
So it seems like this never happened.
Okay.
And as soon as this was brought up to Amanda Farrow on Twitter, along with supposedly some fat liberal memes.
Oh no!
She said that she was disengaging from the conversation and was not going to, join in anymore.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, seems like it didn't actually happen.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
I guess we have to wait and see if any footage comes out proving that this happened or not.
Yeah, the article that I read, which of course did not question that this happened, actually included a video of a different teabagging, and it was not clear that it was a different teabagging, so I did not realize that there wasn't actually video evidence of this at first.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty stupid.
That is pretty stupid. And, I feel that teabagging is a long-standing tradition for Halo games.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm for equality around here. I think everybody has the right to teabag anybody else in a game.
Hey, and you're always a Master Chief. It's not sexist. It's just a Master Chief teabagging a Master Chief. Where's the problem here?
Come on, it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. Exactly.
All right. So, if you're still listening, what else happened in games, Will?
Well, Fortnite's really popular.
Newsflash!
Yeah, it's absurd.
What?
3 times as many videos as any other game on YouTube already.
Wow.
Which is just unbelievable.
I can't believe it.
It's unprecedented.
It's getting PewDiePie numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And it's to the point that schools are having to ban it on their Wi-Fi connections. They did a survey across Texas, and they found that the majority of Texas schools now have it banned. So you can assume that's probably true nationwide.
Wow. That's, I'm not that surprised, actually.
No, the game is way too popular.
I'm surprised that schools don't just have gaming banned in general on their Wi-Fis, I guess. Not that I'm advocating that, but...
It would take a lot of time.
To individually go through.
Yeah,
you have to wait for a spike.
You have to block each one, and you have to know what each one is, so that's a lot of research, unless, of course, you have everybody playing it.
Well,
yeah.
It's too bad for those kids.
Yeah, exactly. Better get better data. And, alright, so, I read some interesting Far Cry 5 news that
this is
I
news?
particularly like. Okay, I read it as news.
Okay.
The website thought it was news.
Interesting.
But, in Far Cry 5, when your human allies aren't accompanying you, they all go hang out together in a pizza place.
Like a pizza place on the map that you can go to?
Exactly.
Oh.
That's pretty cool.
Isn't that awesome?
But I feel that Nick Rye should be, spending time with his wife who was pregnant.
No, you're
So not
absolutely
hanging out in a
right.
pizza place.
That's very confusing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit the characters. Also, the other two seem kind of more antisocial or not going to socialize with such upbeat people.
Right.
And the last piece of news I got here, which I'm gonna tell you just because I read a funny joke about it.
Okay.
It was a poor news week, folks. Real poor news week. So the developer of Lawbreakers, Bosky, Lawbreakers, if you remember, the game that had about 100 players on Steam when it launched and slowly fell off, and it was expected to be a huge hit. And it was actually a good game, so everyone was kind of like, that sucks. But it came out at the same time as PUBG, and so it got crushed. Well, the developer has decided to make their own Battle Royale game called Radical Heights, which so far is getting awful reviews, except for the fact that I've read a little bit about the game. And apparently, it is a Battle Royale that kind of has... it's taking mechanics from other games, like the fact that the gold you get in a certain match will actually carry on to the next match.
Ooh.
So you could potentially, if you're really bad at the game, just save up a lot, so eventually you buy all the best weapons right at the beginning, so you can do better.
But you can't buy gold with real money.
I actually don't know anything about that.
Because if you can buy gold with real money, then...
It's a free game,
To
so
hell
I
with
assume
it.
that's probably the case.
Oh, man, see, it's done.
You're right. I didn't even consider that.
It's over.
It's over.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Crash and burn.
yeah. So, video game news, not great.
Well, real quick, I'd like to mention that the game Will and I have been enjoying so much, the online co-op game Deep Rock Galactic, is adding their first flying enemy in tomorrow's update.
Yeah, that's real hype because there's currently 2 different ways in the game to completely separate yourself from the ground, and since everything else is ground-based, only the ranged mobs can hit you at that point, and so you just kill all the ranged ones and you're invincible while you kill everything else.
Is one of the ways the zip line?
Yes, there's the zip line, and then also you can build platforms using the engineer and then disconnect where the platform has attached itself off the side. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, good strategies. There's not enough players in this game to really be using too many of those elite strategies, but me and Sam make good use of them.
Yeah, some would call them exploits, but exploits are a part of the game as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you can do it, you can do it.
If it's
Yeah.
legal.
Exactly.
You're not putting in a cheat code or...
Nah, it's definitely nothing somebody should get banned over.
Yeah.
oh.
This is a great time to mention that me and Sam have been continuing to play Deep Rock Galactic.
Right.
I'm at 120 hours now.
Already?
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
a great game. It's a really great game.
Yeah, that's very unusual for me. So
Yeah.
I really enjoy this game.
Yeah, it's a big rack up of hours.
Well, I don't have any big news about this game this week. Sam achieved something very golden.
Oh yeah, I've now maxed out every single one of my character's levels, my overall player rank, and I've gotten all the upgrades and the best looking cosmetic armors. So I've basically done everything.
Yeah.
Beat the game.
I beat the game.
When you get all that stuff, all the statues in like your statue room are now golden. So he has a full golden statue room.
Yep.
Excellent.
Was it called the Memorial Hall?
The Memorial Hall where they
Yeah.
honor the fallen.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool because at the back there's this scrolling text that is all of the players who I assume participated in the beta.
Okay.
And I think that's a pretty nice way to honor them.
They're the fallen.
Yeah, exactly. They got
That's
left
pretty
behind.
I like it.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
good.
How about you, Max? You been playing anything this week?
Not much. Just
I think you may have promised us something last week.
Right.
Not much.
You
I,
mentioned but didn't actually go into detail.
No, I did actually spend quite a bit of time playing Grand Theft Auto 5. Not GTA Online, I want to be clear.
Yes.
That this was all story mode, single player content. And I gotta say, like, that is a AAA game that really, like, lives up to the feeling of being AAA. Like, the driving is so fun in that game. Like, everybody's already heard this. It's no, shock to anybody to hear that the driving just feels incredible. And this game does such a good job of differentiating all the different vehicles. There's always something new and fun to steal and drive. And
nice.
Isn't it kind of weird how they do it so much better than all of the racing games? I don't get how they get such a good feel into their vehicles when there's these games that are so dedicated to it, and they just end up making what I feel like cars are they're not fun to drive.
Right.
They're more realistic, but they're not fun to drive.
Right. Which is, that's because Rockstar is focused on gameplay overall. They're not trying to make the most realistic racing game. They're trying to make it fun. Like, there's all these times where you can tell that they've set up the road in such a way to allow you to succeed. Like, cars at intersections are always stopped with just enough space between them that almost any car you're driving, you can get between them as long as you're just careful enough. And the cars that are doing the cross traffic, like, there's never a situation where if you don't, take a little bit of care in your weaving, you can't get through an intersection where the cars are going the other way. Like, they've done a good job of making the world fun to drive through by not putting up a bunch of artificial barriers.
Right. That's a great detail, actually. I love that you can just go through any intersection.
Yeah, it's so true. And one of the guys that you can play as 3 guys in this game. They kind of wean you in slowly. Like, you're just one guy at first, but then you get the second guy, and then a little later you get the third guy. And they all have their different specialties. But the first guy you get is Franklin, and all 3 of the guys have a special ability. And Franklin's is that he can do bullet time while he's driving.
Oh, wow.
So anytime you are in a situation where you're going to have to take too tight of a turn, you can just slam those control sticks down, and suddenly you're in Ghost World, and the car has magic ultra steering, and it's very fun.
That sounds like it.
I got to give a shout out to the plot too. Like, in this sort of game where it's got all these little various things you can go and do all the time, it can often be very tempting to skip cutscenes in order to get back to the gameplay.
That's true.
But you want to know what's going to happen next with these characters, because it's almost like a Tarantino movie. It's just like a good crime thing, like a good crime story where like one thing happens and it starts these dominoes falling, and you're constantly dealing with every domino that got knocked over by the last thing that you did, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really need to play it at some point, because it seems like a fun game. It's always sounded like a fun game, and watching you play it looks like a fun game. It's just, they really did a good job, right? Like, maybe they took some of the things that they learned from Bully, even. Like, I see you tapping X to go faster.
Okay. Let me go into the downsides a little bit, the not-so-greats. This is a game where Rockstar did indulge themselves a little too much. They were going for realism so much that there are some inconveniences.
All right.
Like actually stashing and getting cars that you've stolen, like keeping them around, requires a lot of money, and money is not easy to get in this game.
Okay.
If you're not going around and taking risks by robbing random stores all the time for 5-6 G's at a time, then you have to rely on the story missions for the $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 payouts. But then you're eating that up quickly, because if you want a garage, that's $200,000, baby.
Yep.
Like, you're buying airline hangars. So, the tapping X to run. You can hold it to kind of run, but if you tap it, you run faster. So you're always going to be tapping it.
Yeah.
And you're building one of your character's meters. All the characters, there's like 8 stats that you're building all the time, depending on what you're doing. And stamina is one of them, and you build it by running and riding a bicycle and getting in fights with people.
Bicycle too, keep tapping it to go faster, so you pedal?
Yes. Yeah, you're tapping on the bicycle.
It's just straight up from Bully.
Yeah, it is. It's too bad that you probably don't have the opportunity to get a skateboard, do you?
No, I haven't seen a skateboard. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
But Sam, don't you enjoy slamming X the whole time that you're playing? Like, isn't that a plus for GTA for you?
I like the fact that it keeps you engaged on your controller. You're not getting bored as you're just running around. But, my thumb does get tired once in a while.
Yeah, it's one of the deterrents that keeps me from playing the copy of Bully that's currently in my Steam library.
Well, just remember, you can get a moped with an engine, which you don't have to do that to. And you only have to tap it once in a while on the skateboard, which is much faster than running anyway.
That's fair. It does look like a fun game.
Yeah, love that skateboard.
And I do got to say also that some of the mini games in GTA are also very well designed and control very well.
Yeah,
like they have tennis and golf so far that I've discovered, and they both control pretty good and are pretty deep from having played other tennis and golf games in the past.
I feel like I've actually heard about this before, and yeah, that's definitely a plus in any game for me is when they have mini games within the game that are actually fun to play. Because why not? Why not stick a 2D game or 3 inside of your game? Because your developers have some time that they're sitting there bored and want to do something else, and they can make one of those games in 30 minutes easily. It's like just give them the freedom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can, if you know you're going to kill somebody who is part of a business and you're going to mess it up, you can go and buy some of their competition on the stock market. and then you can make the kill.
How does this work?
There's a stock market too.
Your phone has an internet app that you have a stock portfolio on, and sometimes you get like assassin hits in this game that you can go do, and sometimes they're big target. Like you basically kill sort of a Steve Jobs, but like young, Apple magnate kind of guy. You blow him up with a cell phone to the head, and your guy has bought you some stock in the opposing company. And you get a big payout from that, and that's the first hint. And then in the future, you can do that anytime you get one of those assassin contracts.
That's brilliant.
Which is actually a pretty good way to make money.
Now, you just said you blow him up with a cell phone to the head.
Yeah. We go on a mission where we end up putting a bomb in a cell phone. We have to dress up like a hipster. And go and do tech support. You guys watched me do this. I do tech support on the guy's computer, and it was like all porn ads, and I had to keep clicking through to get to the desktop in order to do anything.
I remember that.
I was doing all of that just so I could sneak into the other room and plant the remote bomb into the demo of the new cell phone. And then when he was giving his big speech in front of the cameras and like demoing the phone, I called it. And blowed up his head.
Speech. Nice.
Yeah,
that's real good.
Yeah, no, every person you play at is stone fucking evil. But it's like a Tarantino movie. Like, you're rooting for these guys because they're the protagonists, but they put a gun to anybody's head and blow it off in a second.
Right.
You're the hitman.
Yes, you are. But, I think I've gone on at length about that. You got anything to talk about gaming-wise?
I've just been continuing to play Far Cry 5, and I'm enjoying that thoroughly.
Do you know how far you are?
So there's these progress bars for each of the 3 areas, and I am like 70% of the way in 2 areas, and probably like 30% of the way in the last one. And I assume that's a fairly accurate length. Once I finish all the areas, it's probably just a final mission or something along those lines.
Killed some bosses?
In a way, yes. Although there hasn't really been anything that I can think of that felt like a real boss. It's mostly just capturing outposts and stuff like that. But I will say, last time around, I mentioned that I felt like they really shot for the freedom, but didn't get as much of it as you would have wanted. Mm-hmm. Well, I just stopped questing. I started just running around doing random things. And I found myself ending up doing lots of quests anyway. And it was a lot more fun that way. And I started to enjoy the game more. And I realized that they really did succeed. You just have to ignore all the quests that you're picking up and run in random directions whenever you want.
And isn't that the way of any one of these games?
That's the way they should do it all the time. But I feel like so often they force you into the quest lines, and I kind of automatically played this game that way because that's what I expected, and it turns out it's much better off.
Plus, isn't it giving you additional exploring equipment as you go through the story quest? Like, don't you get a wingsuit?
Oh, yeah.
If you want a wingsuit, you got to go that far.
Well,
and then
the parachute and the wingsuit actually came very early on because you purchase those with perk points, which you can get really quickly. And I think the wingsuit is 1 point, and I think it's the same for the parachute. It
wasn't quest dependent at all?
No, not at all.
All the level ups, you don't really level up in this game. It just, you get perk points for accomplishing certain things. So the more you do, the more variety you add into your game, the more you're able to unlock.
Yeah, it encourages you to do all sorts of different types of kills and hunt for different animals and stuff like that.
Like each thing you do levels up a particular thing?
Like
it's not all getting poured into a single pool of points that you're deciding where to spend.
No, that's exactly what you're doing.
Oh.
Yeah. It's all one big pool of points. You get like 3 perk points for killing 3 of an animal and skinning them, and you get 5, or not 5, you get like 2 generally for killing 10 guys with the bow, stuff like that.
You get 3 for headshots with pistols. After you get 10, you get some perk points.
Fellas, that's leveling up.
Well, that's fair. He's the one who said it wasn't leveling up.
Okay, yes, you're leveling up. What I mean is you're not really gaining experience or anything.
I hear that.
Yeah, there's no like level that you
points.
are. Yeah, no,
I track you.
But so yeah, it's overall a really fun game. And
are you ready to render a rating, or do you have to play a little more? You want to play all the way through before?
Oh, I'm ready to give you a rating, but let me talk about the game a little bit more first.
Please.
So I just decided to go and grab a plane and fly around and see if I could find anything interesting to do.
Okay.
So there's this tall mountain, and at the top of this tall mountain is a statue of Joseph. Their leader.
The father.
The father.
Joseph Seed.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking, I don't like that statue there. It's at the top of the tallest mountain. I gotta do something about this. So I go flying in there. I've never jumped out of a plane before. But as I'm closing in on this statue, I decide to jump out of the plane and pop my parachute. Plane goes straight into the statue, and it starts me on a quest to take down the entire statue. As I parachute down, there's rocket launchers and rockets all around it. And lots of guys, of course. So I'm taking them out, and I'm grabbing the rocket launcher, and I'm shooting rockets, and more guys are coming in. I'm having to clear them out and take out more edges of this statue. And man, it was quite the experience. Like, it was a Breath of the Wild level experience. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that built into the environment, just a whole other thing.
And I found a lot of other things that were built into the environment, but nothing quite as impressive. But those things are they're the best because they're so natural, and you come upon them because you want to engage with it, and not because the game has forced you to engage with it.
Right. They put that statue there, anticipated that somebody might see that and say, oh, I want to go see if I can take that down.
Yep.
And they not only anticipated that, but they said, here you go. We're going to make it a whole other fun little mini game.
And now that I think about it, I went to the big yes that's in the mountain when I first started, but I didn't have any way to get on top of it at that point, and there was nothing there. Now I'm thinking, I wonder if there's something on top of that yes.
Or if you may be able to blow it up with a rocket launcher.
Oh, you're brilliant.
Or flying a plane into it.
Oh my god.
Flying a plane into it. That's a good idea.
I have to try everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Down the yes sign. That's a great idea.
I know. So yeah, the game, I think it's an 8 out of 10.
All right.
I think it's
That's
really
high.
I think it's really outstanding, and they did a great job. It's stunning visually. The gameplay is good. The quests, when you do actually do them, they don't suck. It's just it kind of sucks to follow quests in general. I like the perk system. I think that they overall did a great job. I wouldn't diversify myself so much if it wasn't for getting perks for doing things so many different ways. But because of those perks, I do the things in different ways, and now I have a more varied skill set for everything I do, which is very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And soundtrack is acceptable. I don't really notice it, but I also don't have any problems with it, so I think that's good overall. And yeah, great game.
What about you? You have a rating for it yet, or do you need to play more?
No, I actually was going to give it the exact same rating, 8 out of 10. I think it's real good. There are a couple things that irk me, as I've mentioned before, with, say, the no-bladed melee weapons.
Yep.
Also, it's supposed to be in America, but everybody's driving around in ATVs, and there's not a motorcycle in sight. But
Yes.
other than little minor things like that, I love the game. I actually have fought a couple of bosses. I fought a general in a plain dogfight, which was a ton of fun. And I took out one of the main members of the cult, one of the Seed families, John Seed. So I've basically completed one area. Haven't really strayed outside that one area yet. Kind of basically just, while not going for quests or anything, just running around that that area and coming upon the quests, but not going outside, like I said. But now I'm going to be doing that and probably enjoying it some more.
Awesome.
The game is also actually really good for getting clips of yourself being an awesome shooter, even if you can't aim for crap, because the way the aiming works is that when you're relatively close to where you want to be aiming, then you hit the trigger to scope it, and it pulls you to an accurate shot. And so if you get really fast at this, as I have after, the 40 or so hours I've probably played, probably not 40, maybe like 30, then you just look awesome when there's swarms of guys coming in and you're just continuously pressing that trigger as they come close and taking them out one by one. So, great for clipping.
Yeah, I'm sure. Some people don't like that, but yeah.
I kind of don't like it if it's an online game, because then people are going to be abusing it. But online PvP.
Right.
But in a PvE game like this, I think it's
better for gameplay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, how about a break, guys?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
And we are back, and we're going to talk about some TV and movie news.
Is there news in the TV and movie-osphere?
Yes.
Oh, wait, yes!
I believe that there is. I think the big news to discuss would be the fact that we finally, just in time, got a full trailer for the Solo movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the movie titled Ranger Solo in China.
When is the movie coming out again?
Ooh,
is it May?
Early May?
I believe it's May.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Early or late May.
This is a late trailer.
Yeah.
A little too late, and I think we know why.
Yes, they needed to find a way to cut together a trailer that de-emphasized the presence of Han Solo in this movie. Because it does seem like almost every other part of this movie besides Han Solo might have a chance of being a little bit entertaining.
Right.
They, who knows? They could put together a fun little heist film. We don't know. I don't want to hold anything against the movie before I actually see it.
It's true. But, I mean, even from watching, like, that trailer, it kind of went downhill from the beginning.
It's true.
And that makes you kind of think the movie might go downhill from the beginning.
The thing that I want to make sure we mention is that Ron Howard is probably the most experienced director to make one of these, right? All the other J.J. Abrams is pretty experienced. He's got a bunch of movies under his belt, but he's kind of, a more recent director. Ron Howard's been making movies for decades.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible that he could have taken the shreds that were left from the departure of the previous directors and turned it into a fairly coherent and entertaining movie.
It's possible. It's just
the trailer didn't really sell it.
Yeah, it's not really... doesn't look great. The fact that the trailer came out so late is also just not great for the appearance. And then...
they're rushing this out.
And then you don't have a good Han Solo. And that... Like,
we haven't seen it.
Okay, that's true. That's true. There's all these great characters around Han Solo, which are great to highlight. And if that's the route they're going, that can be an enjoyable film. But this is the Han Solo film. So shouldn't they have made it that?
They shouldn't have made it.
Yeah. What's wrong with them?
I mean, it should have been Lando the movie.
That's true.
Co-starring Han and Chewie.
Yeah.
You bring them in when the heist is being planned. It's like, hey, we got these guys. Like, they're real good pilots. That would have been better already.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lando movie. Lando.
I'm not so sure about the redesign of the Millennium Falcon. With the gap
filled in.
I don't know. I think it's kind of an ugly ship that way. The two spikes in the front kind of made it.
Yep.
Yeah, it really destroys the classic design.
Yeah.
And it gives you a little too much of a feeling of like, oh, we're going to see why Han Solo took the space out from between the Millennium Falcon's prongs. And in the trailer, you see him getting the blaster handed to him. And it's like, hopefully it's not going to be one of those movies that, as the Red Letter Media guys like to point out, it's like, oh, we got to see the origin of how every individual thing happened.
The making of Han Solo, as you know him.
Everything that mattered in his life happened in these 3 days.
Right. So, Will, you wanted to mention that this Forbes writer, Scott Mendelson, says that the Rampage movie starring Dwayne Johnson is the best video game movie ever made. Can that be true?
Well,
I liked Warcraft.
Well, Tomb Raider is, of course, the one that most people would bring up when this...
Is that the most successful financially?
Most successful financially, and also probably the most enjoyable for most people. But...
don't ask the fans of Resident Evil franchise.
Yeah, but those people are clearly insane, so, I mean... no need to ask them anyway. No offense. But yeah, actually, I was reading a bunch of good things. This was definitely the highest praise that I saw, but I saw a general good praise that it is a fun film. That can be kind of dangerous. Fun film, but at the same time, I think it's good, and I'm looking forward to having a good Rampage movie, because I would not have expected that.
Well, that's because Rampage the game had, like, no plot.
Yes.
This is like a blank canvas for them to paint any plot at all they wanted onto.
Yeah, that's true.
All you need to do is end up with, what is it, a giant dog, a giant monkey, and a big lizard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
Now add The Rock for charisma. And we're going to be watching this movie on reruns on TNT for years.
You're absolutely right. It's just that kind of movie. Not quite worth the $20 trip to the theaters. Well, maybe. It might have a lot of destruction that could be fun. But definitely worth catching on TV.
Catch a matinee, maybe. There's a couple other interesting news tidbits I wanted to hit on real quickly.
Tell us.
Not accounting for inflation, Black Panther is now the third highest grossing movie of all time domestically.
Domestically?
I believe domestically.
Do you know what it is for the world?
I don't know what it is for the world. In fact, I might have it backwards, and maybe it's world.
I believe it's 34th in the world then, because I read something today that said that it was the 34th highest grossing film ever.
You want to know a crazy thing I read today? Total tangent.
All right.
In France, they have a law that a movie has to have played in cinemas for 36 months before it can come out on home video.
What?
They're using this law in order to prevent Netflix from entering any movies into the Cannes Film Festival. But I read that as like a little tidbit in the news article about the Netflix thing, and I was like, that is crazy. Does that mean that in 3 years they're going to get Black Panther on DVD?
Yeah, that is absolutely wow.
The bootleg market is going to be booming.
Right. No wonder everyone in France is just listening to music all the time. The movies are so difficult.
Anyway, accounting for inflation, Black Panther's like 60th or something. Like, number 2 is still Star Wars.
Okay, that's not bad.
And in semi-related news, Infinity War has already beat the last 7 Marvel movies combined in pre-sale tickets sold.
What? How's that possible?
I don't understand how it's possible, because Black Panther's included in that count. What? That was one of the last Marvel movies.
So everybody's so hyped from Black Panther that they just went and pre-purchased this movie, essentially?
Oh, yeah, but a lot more people, too. This movie could end up being the big one, like the one that really takes down all the records.
Isn't Hollywood supposed to be dying off, not exploding?
Hey, well, one big movie explodes like that, but we're not going to see any of these other movies in theaters.
That's a great point.
And they have been working towards this for so long now.
True.
It's the culmination, and there's a lot of people a lot crazier than us who are really devoted to some of these movies.
It's weird that there's a lot of people a lot crazier than us, and we're the ones doing the podcast.
Well, hopefully we can be the same voice of reason and or the totally crazy theory site that everybody needs.
I like crazy theory site.
A couple other things. Just some casting news for Star Trek Discovery. Anson Mount, who played Black Bolt on the allegedly terrible Marvel Inhumans show, has been cast as Captain Christopher Pike for the upcoming season.
All right.
An interesting choice.
And also comedian Tig Notaro has been cast in an unspecified role.
Also Discovery?
Yes, also Discovery. So this could, she's a comedian. So, but like a real dry comedian. She's the only guest on How Did This Get Made? Whoever fell asleep and didn't watch the movie before recording the podcast as their guest.
That's funny.
Like anybody else doing it, it wouldn't be funny. It would be insulting. But for some reason, it's part of her shtick.
All right.
Well, adding a little more comedy to Discovery could only help.
Yeah, I think she could be a real funny Vulcan.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you guys watch anything interesting?
I think that we all just watched Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Do you think?
I do think.
Unless there's something you watched.
No, Ash vs. Evil Dead. We did indeed watch that. It's true.
Yes.
We just watched it.
We just watched it, episode 4, which I think was my favorite episode of the season so far.
It was the best
Definitely.
one.
Absolutely. It only had one real gory part, which was right at the opening when he jumped in the window, and then from there, the whole episode, I'm just like, this is so calm and relaxing. There's not blood spraying everywhere.
But the bite, though.
The bite
really gets me.
And then
because you know where it's going to go, the infection. Like, she's going to... The only question is she going to have to pull an Ash and cut her own leg off? And so Kelly's going to have
a weapon leg?
A weapon leg, like in that Robert Rodriguez movie.
I mean, if she gets the gun leg, I got no complaints. It fits her character.
It does fit her character.
She needs to get the blade running leg that the girl in Kingsman had.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would actually be really awesome.
Yeah, with the Kandarian dagger.
Right, that's what I was going to say, the Kandarian dagger.
This is totally all going to happen in the next episode, and you guys are just going to be shocked when he just shoves the dagger into her leg.
This so truly could go anywhere, because this episode did all sorts of weird things, like ghosts.
Ghosts were in this one.
I like
time travel visions.
Other evil people in books that are maybe Ruby's lover, and I'm thinking maybe she's gonna put her inside Pablo's body for a little bit, because Pablo is just a conduit of evil.
He's a big vagina.
And he's a big vagina.
How about these Knights of Sumeria and this guy locked in the basement?
That was
fucked up.
They really got me going, because I was sure he was going to be a Deadite.
I know, absolutely.
Right. But maybe when he was dying, did he do something to himself so that he couldn't become a Deadite?
I mean,
maybe they would.
What is the condition to become a Deadite?
Intact corpse.
Yeah, being dead.
Okay.
Head attached to body.
Right.
Or no. Well, yeah, head attached to body. That was confirmed.
Well, what did he draw on the wall? What was the use? What was the purpose?
Well, obviously, from Ruby's reaction, what he was doing was something that was bad for her.
But it
was
also
opening a portal to the other world.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was
bad
just
for everybody.
But it was also seemed like it was to summon like some even worse demons.
So this gives me the impression that it's like Ruby is one of these super evil demons, but that she has gone off on her own to try to become like the ultimate demon or something along those lines.
She suggested as much. Yeah, I feel like she told us as much in season 2 at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't have any inkling of like her lover or sister or servant or whoever that was.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, and it was like weird. That was like a 90s soap opera special effect. Like it had a weird cheesiness to the quality of the vision and that she was seeing in the book.
They did reveal a lot, didn't they? Because they also revealed that Brandy has to kill Ash in order for Ruby to become ultimately powerful?
Brandy or the demon child.
Or the demon child.
Technically Ash's son
that's true.
because of the book.
So that's how it all comes together, is that the demon child has to kill Ash?
That would be my guess.
Maybe. Consume Ash, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it did have a big mouth.
Maybe it has to consume Ruby or infest her and use her to kill Ash.
Oh, God. There's so many ways that this could go. They've said so much, but they've said so little.
Did you guys watch anything else?
No, not really.
No way.
I actually watched the first episode of the FX series Legion. Having only watched the first episode, I am prepared to declare that it is as good as the best live-action X-Men content that I've ever seen. Oh. I don't understand the production budget that this show must have. I mean, maybe I'll get to the next episode or two and it'll be really dialed down and they really poured everything into the first episode.
It often happens.
But the special effects were good. There was a lot of great action. They were doing a lot of crazy, totally trippy stuff with, vibrations and time freezing, and you constantly don't know if this guy's in an asylum or if he's out walking around or like what timeline you're in. Like the way that this show kind of gets across the main character's feeling of being basically schizophrenic is very effective, because watching this show you kind of feel a little schizophrenic, like, oh, what's happening, oh, where am I, oh, who's this guy, oh, you're showing me things that you're later showing me happened differently, and it's definitely lying to you for fun.
No, this show is connected in some way to the X-Men, right?
Legion in the comics is the biological son of Professor Charles Xavier.
All right.
And he is a paranoid schizophrenic who has, I think, 1,000 personalities or something. And each one of them has a different mutant power. So if he wants to use the power of one, he has to let that personality inhabit his body. And usually in the comics, he's drawn with the craziest hair you've ever seen. It's like a flat top or like a spiky top, like Guile, but it's actually 3 feet tall, all in one straight cone of hair that only Bill Sienkiewicz can draw correctly, and looks really stupid when any other artist draws it. But I don't think they actually reveal until later this season that he is the son of Professor X, or that this is connected in any way to the actual X-Men universe. I don't know if any other X-Men characters show up, other than I do know that the villain of the show is the Shadow King, because he's hanging out in the background of a bunch of shots. He's like a big, like a human Jabba the Hutt hybrid.
Gross.
Real nasty.
Do they have a huge actor playing him, or is it just a lot of makeup?
It's like a fat suit and prosthetics, I think.
Okay.
It looks real gross. He's like looks like how Mojo would be.
Got it.
Like real disgusting.
Yeah.
And Aubrey Plaza is the co-star, April from Parks and Rec, and she's playing another insane person at the asylum who may or may not just be a figment of David's imagination. Therefore, maybe one of his personalities.
Wonderful.
And
probably is.
So she gets to act real crazy the whole time, and it's very, very entertaining. She's good at that.
Yeah, she is good at that.
But so I'll be checking in with that sporadically. I'll probably get through it pretty quickly.
Nice. All right.
Shall we rank some characters?
Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
All right, so as you know, we ranked 3 security officers last time.
Indeed.
So we're going to rank another 3 security officers.
All right.
And let me tell you guys, after this, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into some of the cuts that we're pulling. I don't want to get through all of the big characters right away.
That's fair.
So,
That's a fair point.
I'm going to try to pull up something a little more random maybe in the next couple of weeks. But for now, we are going to start our security character rankings with Commander Chekhov, who is the only character who comes close to being defined as a security officer for the original series cast, because he was navigation officer during the show, but then in the films he was security and tactical.
Okay.
What an enjoyable character.
Chekhov.
All around bright.
Yeah,
He
he's
is very awesome.
on the original series. He's literally like the everyman.
Yeah.
He's the O'Brien, even though Scotty's on the show.
Yes, Scotty is not the O'Brien.
Right.
I'd say that I think I like him more than Harry Kim.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be putting him over Harry Kim.
Yeah, me too. Especially because I really liked him in the new films.
Yeah.
With Anton Yelchin. We won't
Big
talk about that.
Big
Rest
bonus
in peace.
points.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I read a comic that had Anton Yelchin Chekhov in it at some point.
Yeah, he's
that was
definitely
enjoyable.
He's definitely still running around in the IDW comics.
That's awesome.
Yeah, living on. So right above Harry Kim here, we have Archer. Now, is Chekhov above Archer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I agree there. Janeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump up a little bit. Kirk.
No.
No.
No. Okay.
Chekhov is like
So
Kirk's sidekick.
Yeah. Especially the last movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So I jumped up to Kirk because right below Kirk is Quark. So
I like Quark better.
Yeah.
we
Quark's
both
that
like
character.
Quark better. All right, Dax.
Oh. I like Dex better.
I like Dax better.
Wow. Tuvok.
No, I like
Put him right under
Chekhov.
Dax.
Right under Dax.
Yep.
All right. Above Archer, Janeway, and Tuvok. And it is a commander Chekhov?
Commander Chekhov.
All right.
That is the rank that he is at in the films, so that's what we should rank him
Yes.
at, right?
Definitely.
I think he's like an ensign or something, or a lieutenant in the show.
No, I think he's a lieutenant.
Yeah.
All right.
But I like Commander Chekhov.
I like Commander too.
If
In honor of Anton Yelchin.
Yes.
Commander.
Yeah, posthumous promotion.
Yes.
All right, next is a character who's going to be a little weird to rank,
That's fine.
because it is the official listed security officer of the Starship Discovery, which is Lieutenant Ash Tyler, a.k.a. the Klingon Vok.
So, now going by our previous rule.
No, we are ranking the character we saw on the show, who was, as we are led to believe on the show, essentially Ash Tyler, until Vok was awoken within him, And now he is a merger of those two characters. Therefore,
He's still Ash Tyler.
he is also Vok. Now, we can rank Vok solo as his own thing later, and I think we kind of should.
Yeah.
But we should include the post-awakening version of him, where he now has the merged memories.
Well, I like
All
him
versions
now.
of the character.
Because that bumps him way up the list because of the scene where he's gambling with the Klingons when they go to Kronos.
Right.
Yeah.
Best moment since he was introduced.
It almost makes it like he's suddenly potentially the best character in the show if we get more of him and he continues down this road. It's like a really interesting guy.
His plot line was probably the second most interesting plot line of any of the characters. I would say the first is probably the overall Spore Drive narrative, and Stamets is the best plot line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely true. So,
But,
in a way, he kind of makes a lot of the show.
They really, he's key to a lot of things. And being the primary love interest of our protagonist means that he has to be around for a lot of stuff. But
All right,
can't
all
knock him
right.
down too much for that.
It's true.
So I think he's going to rank pretty well. So, starting with our customary Harry Kim.
Worse.
Yeah, worse.
Worse than Harry Kim. Okay, Lieutenant Malcolm Reed.
Worse.
Worse. Guinan.
That's difficult right there.
Better.
I'm going to say worse, though.
I'm going to go with better here.
All right. I concede.
All right.
Lieutenant Ashley Tyler.
Ashley?
Well, it's Ash Tyler, so what else could it be?
Ashton?
Well, we can look that up and we'll correct later. Maybe.
All Ashes are Ashleys.
So, Sam, who are we ranking next?
Oh, must be Worf.
It is Lieutenant Commander Worf.
Lieutenant Commander Worf. Oh,
Man.
man.
I think that he appeared on the second most episodes after O'Brien, because O'Brien was on more of TNG. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know.
Worf isn't more of TNG than O'Brien is.
But is Worf in more of DS9 than O'Brien is in TNG?
Yeah, I think I would probably...
I don't remember. This is probably something easy to look up.
Yeah, that's true.
I think
Anyway,
that
Comes
you're
in
right.
late.
It would be that O'Brien shows up more than Worf overall, I think.
Because Next Gen does have, like, DS9 starts during Next Gen, so O'Brien isn't appearing on Next Gen for at least the last, I think, 2 seasons.
Yeah, and he doesn't show up too much in the first 2 seasons.
So maybe not as many episodes. But anyway,
Anyway.
moving on from that.
Yeah,
Worf.
That's not important.
He's the man.
Yeah, I love Worf. Worf is going to rank real high. Worf's better than Dax. Worf's better than Quark. Worf's better than Kirk.
Worf is better than Kirk.
I think Worf's better than
We
Kirk.
get so much Worf. We get him from his early Starfleet days all the way up to becoming the Federation ambassador to the Klingon Empire.
Right.
He kills Chancellor Gowron.
And briefly, becomes
Becomes Chancellor for a second before naming Martok Chancellor. We get Worf's career.
Because of Worf, we get a lot more Klingon, and Klingon is entertaining.
Like, how good is that episode of Next Gen where the Romulan trader is trying to convince them that there's a weapons shipyard being built on a planet in the neutral zone, and they have to go decide whether to go out there or not, and Picard finally goes out there, and it is a trap, and 2 Romulan warbirds are there, and they're going to capture the Enterprise and take it back to Romulus. But then Picard goes, Mr. Worf, now. And the 2 Klingon warships decloak behind the Romulan warbirds.
Yes.
That episode is like DS9 in miniature.
Yeah, that is a great moment.
So, yes, Worf. I mean,
Better than Kirk.
yeah, Worf has some of the best taste in women on the show.
No.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, you need to date Counselor Troy for a while.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I forgot about that. But, yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
above Kirk, we got Odo. So now we got Worf versus Odo.
Worf better.
Worf?
Yeah.
All right. That's even easier for you guys than Kirk. Okay, Worf versus Spock.
Worf's
I like
better.
Worf better.
But I think Worf's going to rank real high up there. But all we have left is Data, Cisco, and Picard.
But
Picard is
right?
next, yes.
Is Worf better or worse than Captain Picard? Worf is worse.
Worf is worse. Okay, so Worf is going above Spock and below Picard in position number 4.
Pretty high ranking.
That is very
Lieutenant
high.
Commander?
Lieutenant Commander.
Lieutenant Commander Worf.
That's what he's been made in Deep Space Nine when he joins the crew. So that's what he is.
In DS9, doesn't he get upgraded to full commander?
Does he?
Maybe I'm
Later
wrong.
in the episodes? Because I know he's Lieutenant Worf in Next Gen.
I think they call him lieutenant, but he's lieutenant commander. So if they don't say lieutenant commander.
Nah, because he doesn't wear the red.
Well-
Command wears red.
We'll look this up and we'll add it to the list later.
Lieutenant Commander.
So anyway, today we have added in position number 4, Lieutenant Commander Worf. In position number 10, Commander Chekhov. And in position number 16, Lieutenant Ashley Tyler.
Ashley. All right. Shall we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
And we are back to talk about comics and Transformers.
I love
And for that,
Transformers.
we got our Transformer of the Week.
Now, I do want to note that we hilariously, after 20 episodes of practice, forgot to do our iconic Transformer of the Week segment in our first episode.
Yes, very sorry.
It was an unfortunate oversight, but I think it was a quality episode despite that.
Oh, definitely.
So this week, you grabbed out of my case a Transformer, Decepticon, known as Octane or Tankor.
Well,
Why does he have two names?
I don't know.
That is strange.
In some continuities, his character is called Octane, because Transformers has like 8 continuities.
Right.
And in some, he's called Tankor. I don't know if it's a translation thing, or if it was just, a weird naming thing.
Okay, now this doesn't look like a tank to me.
Well, that is because he's in robot mode, sir. So he looks like a robot at the moment, but he is a triple changer.
Oh,
that's awesome.
That makes sense.
He turns into both a truck, like a tanker truck that delivers fuel, like the round parts.
Got it.
Nice.
And he also turns into like a 747, like a big passenger jet.
Yeah, I love that.
7, nice.
Yeah, and this figure is particularly highly detailed, as you may have noticed. It's actually a third-party figure, not an official Hasbro licensed figure. This figure is known as Provider, and it is one of my absolute favorite third-party figures I ever bought. He is solid, built with good materials. His transformation is difficult, as most third-party Transformers are, but the results in both directions are quite pleasing.
Yeah, I had to move him twice, and both times when I put him down, I felt like he was going to fall, but then I let go, and he just didn't fall over, and I was like, whoa, this Transformer has balance.
Yeah, very solid, very cool looking, nice coloring, purple and gray mostly.
I love
which is
gray
awesome.
on my flames.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some gray on the Transformers.
He does have a aftermarket sticker kit on him from Repro Labels, so
I
he
see
does
that.
have a lot of extra shininess on him.
Right, like the turquoise shine,
Yeah, exactly.
which is very cool.
So let's move on to talking about some comics. We're going to talk about some comics that are a few weeks old and some comics that are new just this week. But first, I wanted to get to one we didn't have time to get to last week, which is one of the new #1 issues in the DC Comics New Age of Heroes. And this is Brimstone. The title is The Curse of Brimstone.
Now, is this the first, or have there been other new DC heroes?
Oh, yeah, like the Terrific, Sideways.
Okay, so these are all guys from the post
This is post-metal.
the post metal events.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, they introduced a bunch of new teams or individual characters. We haven't gotten them all. And it seems like they're all DC versions of Marvel characters.
All right.
Like one that we haven't been getting is Damage, which is the DC version of the Hulk.
Interesting.
Sideways with Spider-Man.
Yes.
The Terrifics is the Fantastic Four. I feel like there's one I'm missing that we also read another #1 of. But, this one, I've got to say, was probably my least favorite of the ones I've read so far. Some people like it. I am not a fan of Philip Tan's art. It's muddy.
Yeah, the art does not look great. It's kind of like he draws it and then kind of smears over it a little bit.
Except when he's turning into Brimstone. I gotta say,
oh yeah,
that stuff looks good.
that definitely.
Fire
when it's
and
not
sparks.
fine detail, when
Right.
it's more of like a splatter in a way. And the comic is kind of just a talkie, and overall the main character is just angry and depressed and
So
like angsty, and it's just he's not somebody that you're interested in. Kind of seems more like he's the villain,
right?
And so we're reading the villains comic, and you don't want to support the villain. So who are we supposed to support? It's just there's problems.
Also, this dude is an idiot because he falls for the most obvious, textbook, blatant TV tropes version of the devil offering you a deal when he's in his rinky-dink small town and like a dude in a shiny black limo pulls up and the dude's got like fire eyes and he's like, come into the car and I promise you anything you would like, anything in the world, and I might only ask one thing in return, like just make a deal with me. And it's like, has this kid never watched a movie or a TV show?
Okay, I will say that devil dude, he's the most interesting thing in the comic. Like, I want to know what he's doing.
His look is the most interesting thing because he looks like no devil we've ever seen. He does seem like he's not like Satan, like he's some sort of like lieutenant or just like a recruiter. Even.
Like he might be a human giving weird people some sort of an injection that brings out their innate talents or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Man who works for the devil.
Right.
Yeah.
But I gotta be honest, I don't know if I'm invested enough to get the next issue, man.
Not great. This is like a 2 or 3 out of 10. Just not great.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
All right.
Well, also, we didn't get to talk about last week, but on the other end of the spectrum was the 4th issue of Doomsday Clock.
Nice.
We're going to only be talking about this title sporadically because it has gone to only one issue every 2 months.
All right.
For a total of 12 issues. So we're going
That's
to
going to be a while.
for a while.
Yeah.
But this issue was great. It is just the entire origin of the new Rorschach. Who he is. He's the son of the psychiatrist who was interviewing Rorschach in the original Watchmen.
That's awesome.
Okay.
And he spent some time in an insane asylum with Mothman from the old Minutemen team,
Nice.
who is totally able to fashion his bed sheets into working wings so he can escape the asylum whenever he wants.
That's awesome.
And you see this guy both in his insane asylum that he was in Watchmen World, and now, if you recall, in the previous issue, Batman pretended to team up with him and then led him into a cell in Arkham and then locked the door. And so we're also seeing him in modern-day Arkham getting interrogated for anything he knows.
Oof.
And, it's just real well done. This is the first issue that really felt like an issue of Watchmen. You see him getting the mask, the original Rorschach mask that was taken away from him when he was arrested. It was with his father's things.
I really like this 9 panels per page.
Yeah, that's Watchmen is famous for having the 9 panel
very
grid.
organized.
Yeah. And the 9 panel grid taking such a long time to do is one of the reasons why we're going to be going on a delayed schedule for this.
That makes sense.
But it does end with the revelation that the psychiatrist who was grilling him in Arkham was Batman himself. So we're going to see what Batman's going to do with the information that he got out of him. But just real good stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to be talking about issue 2 of Venomized. This is some comic-y comic books, people.
Yeah.
There are some, like, C, D, E list characters showing up in this book, let me tell you. Sam, you read this.
I did read this.
They were going for some deep cuts on Marvel characters here. Was it comprehensible to you?
For the most part, it seems like it's just following up on what happened before. It's just more of the same bad thing that's happening to everyone is happening to more of them.
It is a nice culmination because while most of the lead up is from the X-Men stuff, you do wonder if that whole little arc where Flash met up and got anti-venom powers is because they needed him for this story arc.
Yeah, let's hope. We also got more of Alchemax.
And this was a great character showing up for me, though. Elsa Bloodstone is absolutely wonderful. She stars in this other comic series called Next Wave that is the funniest 12 issues of Marvel Comics ever written, let me tell you.
But how so?
Warren Ellis is a genius. First issue, they're fighting Fin Fang Foom, the giant dragon.
All right.
And there's some giant-ass caption boxes on the page that are like coinciding with each thing of destruction that Fin Fang Foom was destroying this town. And it's like, Fin Fang Foom is over 10,000 years old. Fin Fang Foom is living with a burning urge to mate. Fin Fang Foom has no genitalia whatsoever.
That sucks.
Also, Bloodstone is like if Buffy the Vampire Slayer totally just used guns and magic constantly.
Oh, cool.
And was British, I guess. But
cool.
yeah, she's absolutely a fantastic character, so I'm hoping they can do some cool things with her in this. She's in a bad situation, facing off against a bunch of poisons. But,
one of them's Groot.
One of them's Groot. He was Groot.
He was Groot. That's what he says.
Interesting.
Yeah. D-Man and Rage. Those are some C-list characters, but yeah, I guess the big twist.
I like the art.
Yeah, art is excellent. Who's on this? Iban Coelho is the artist. I'm actually not familiar with other work by him, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
Yeah, but he does do a pretty good job here.
I like his symbiotes. I like that he draws Venom with the gums.
Yeah, no, and all the art is very clear.
Twisting up into his face.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice.
It's craziness right there.
Yeah. And Spider-Man in his black suit. I have seen in news reports that as of Amazing Spider-Man issue 800, he might be going back to black suit full-time for a little while.
That is pretty good news.
I wonder if the artists were just tired of drawing the webs.
Now you were going to mention something about the last page before I interrupted you saying that the art was so nice.
Oh, yeah. The big twist is that, well, first they had a symbiote on Thor, Jane Foster Thor, and but then she got poisoned by the poison aliens, and now she's evil poison. Jane Foster Thor.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
With all of Thor's powers, they're going to be well nigh unstoppable.
Yeah, Thor is just too powerful to be a symbiote or poison villain.
Thing.
Yeah.
I think that's like the end of the universe, right?
Well, Thor can get going, but let's be honest, like, they're stoppable.
Yes.
He, either way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not. Thor isn't wearing Thor's belt of strength, which doubles the power of Thor.
That's cheating.
This is actually a Marvel #1 with a new character that's attempting to be a new version of a Marvel character.
Can I just say that this is perhaps the dumbest plot they could come up with? Like, they really just mashed two ideas together.
It is dumb in a genius way. It is what if Wolverine was also the Hulk and was also like a secret agent or some sort of elite mercenary.
Well, it kind of strikes me like he's more just trying not to think about things. I don't know if we've got much personality.
I believe that this isn't the first appearance of the character. I think he showed up in a previous crossover, but maybe didn't get fleshed out. But the fan response was so overwhelmingly positive that they decided that Greg Pak needed to go ahead. And I got to be honest, I really wanted this to be much better than it was.
Yeah, it's a shame.
What if Hulk was Wolverine? Come on.
That sounds like a cataclysmic event to me.
The problem with this specific issue of comics, it does have a very well-drawn and scary Wendigo.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Now, my problem, and I don't know if you're going to say this,
Go for it.
is that the first half of the comic is overall, like, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable, and it's building up, and it's getting more interesting as it goes.
It's a solid action comic.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then it just...
And then it ends.
It ends, and a new comic starts that's the same comic.
No.
But it's not.
It's a different comic. This is a family drama about a woman who was missing her husband.
Yes.
And raising her 2 kids. And then we see the head of Roxxon seeing some video footage of... I can't even tell if it's the same fight that we cut away from or if this is earlier footage of Weapon H.
Yep.
And yeah, it's weird. Why did they write the end on the page? 12 pages into this 24-page comic, like, or to be continued, I should say. But still, like, to be continued on the next page. Like, they do write that sometimes. Okay.
The comic ended.
Throw it away.
Yeah, so Weapon H, no good.
We're not buying issue 2 of Weapon H, fellas.
All right.
All right. On to another #1 in the DC New Age of Heroes.
Yes. Metal tie-in.
Metal tie-in.
No, is this like #1 season or something?
Yes. Well, it's like the relaunch time. There isn't a specific time of the year or anything when this happens, but occasionally the comic publishers do big things in order to draw new readers, and #1s are the best way to do that. A lot of times they do it by relaunching a bunch of their long-standing books as #1s. But in this case, they're going with and trying to introduce a bunch of new characters, new franchises, and trying to do what Marvel should have done, which is do that.
So
instead of replacing your existing characters with new characters in order to meet some sort of quota for characters of different races and genders.
Right.
Like, don't change Thor into female Thor, rip off DC, and create a new character that's a Superman ripoff.
Yeah, no,
Like,
definitely.
Because that's what DC's doing.
It's way smarter.
That said, this is the first title in this relaunch that hasn't felt like I can figure out which Marvel title it's trying to be.
Yeah, that's true, because this is some weird stuff.
I was introduced to a lot of things in this comic that I had to look up on the internets.
Okay.
Like Kaiju Kid.
Yes.
Who, I gotta be honest with you, man. Kaiju Kid, as near as I can tell, he's just like a kid who can control kaiju.
What is kaiju?
Yes.
Those are giant Japanese monster movie monsters.
Oh,
like Godzilla
right.
or
Godzilla's a
the
kaiju.
aliens in Pacific Rim.
Got it.
They
Got it.
are
I didn't read a lot of his wiki page. I might be completely off base, but I'm hoping that's what it is.
That's awesome.
Batman Who
I love
Laughs shows up for 2 pages in this randomly.
Yes.
Or 1 page, I should say.
1 page. Yeah.
Well, we gotta let people know that he's still out there.
He is still around. He's fighting some weird immortal people.
Who may or may not exist in a reality all inside this kid who's the main character's head.
He may be getting visions from somebody who is this bearded character who we've been seeing, who we didn't actually meet in this issue.
Right.
There's these other characters who identify themselves, I think, as the Immortal Men on the last
They
page.
do indeed identify themselves as such.
This guy's named Ghost Fist. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. He also looks very cool.
He also looks very cool. He's the Phantom, or I'm sorry, the Shadow, right? But with glowing parts.
Yeah, it's that all black outfit. Kind of looks like he could be in Bloodborne, but he's exploding at the same time.
Right, very good point. This hooded
guy.
Moon Knight looking guy, though,
Moon Knight, very much looking guy.
it looks like his name is Reload.
Right, because he has guns.
That's really stupid.
They're ripping off Overwatch.
This, how'd you like it? I feel like this issue was good enough to get issue 2.
I'd say so, just to answer some questions, because this just raises a whole bunch of questions.
We haven't mentioned that it is Jim Lee,
Right.
the head of DC Comics, Jim Lee, who did the art on this. And look, I love Jim Lee's art a lot of the time. This feels a little rushed, maybe. I don't know if there wasn't a lot. It was very workman-like, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't trying to wow us.
Right.
Like,
I kind
consistency.
of want to be wowed with my first issues, though. I
Right.
want to know what is this kid's power? Is he going to be able to summon the Immortal Men, and then he's
Right.
going to be a liability in
battle?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was
I'm interested.
There's a lot of dialogue and text boxes that they needed to get through, and I think that may have been a detriment to some of the visuals. I mean, Jim Lee can draw a page, man.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, is she really that much bigger than him? Like, what's going on here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess so, right?
I mean, that is what it appears.
She has to be, right? Jim Lee's a good,
No,
a good
no way.
artist.
No way that she's not a giant.
Yeah, no, she's behind him.
Oh, yeah, I guess she is very much bigger than him. All right.
Awesome.
Well,
Anyway.
we will see.
Moving on. Well, I'm not reading Versus. I'm just buying these for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I might read it once we got it all, but for whatever reason, I just haven't felt like tipping in yet.
All right. Well, this was a good issue of Versus, and so the previous 2 issues, I thought the first issue was good.
Right.
It wasn't great though because you didn't get that much from it. It was like a battle scene.
Right.
Issue 2, it was half a battle scene and half plot, and this one, it's pretty much all plot.
Right.
So they kind of introduced us with the battles because, of course, that's what it's all about. But now they're really getting into the story.
We're building the world here.
Yeah, exactly. And what happened last time around is that in the battle, our main character, Flynn, he didn't perform so well, and I think he actually got injured again. And meanwhile, one of his teammates, who is this lady, who I can't remember her name, unfortunately, she just has been beating up everybody in every single fight they go into, and she single-handedly carries her team. But she doesn't get any coverage by the news. And of course that's important if you want to be rich and famous.
Right.
You gotta get on the camera, but everybody is really entertained by watching Flynn repeatedly get beat up and lose because he used to be number one and completely uncontested.
Schadenfreude.
So it's hilarious to watch, and all the rich people are very entertained and paying big money. And overall, in this issue, it's like there's an evil group of elites that care very much about Flynn no longer being popular and successful. And because having somebody else come in who's better than him hasn't eliminated his fame, they're now plotting an assassination. And they brought in a bunch of smart scientists to do it, and scientists are like, what? But that's not a great idea, and then they're going to make the scientists do it anyway.
So you're liking it?
I'm liking it. This was the best issue so far, in my opinion.
I gotta say, watching you flip through it, man, Isa Rydich.
The art is great,
Rydich.
right?
I don't know how to pronounce his name, honestly. It's got a little thing over the C.
I know what you mean.
But yeah, man, this is some of the best stuff I've seen him do, and this dude consistently pulls off like this last page of, is this an assassination taking place?
No, it's kind of. I think it's more in like a mind. Like an assassination taking place, but in their minds. Like, this isn't the way it's actually going to go down, but this is what they want to happen.
Just the pinks and the blues and the details of his arm with the veins and the things on his back. Like, this is a great page. Like, this dude's really putting it together, man.
And, you know, I think that's necessary for a comic book like this, because you really need that clarity when you're having such a combat-intensive thing, where there's not going to always be so much to talk about, but there needs to be a lot of very noticeable things in the scene.
I gotta say, the thing that this reminds me most of is like the Alejandro Jodorowsky comics, like the Inkle, just the way he's able to pull off these great sci-fi vistas and like rounded ships and weird rich people with crazy hairstyles and bald people with top knots, and I'd say that it's up there with that really good sci-fi illustration, man.
Yeah, and I think it's likely to just get better because, as I mentioned, they've just been getting more plot, and as they get more plot, it seems to improve overall. I think that it's only got to go up.
All right, so Yvonne Brandon, he's an author to watch. All right, so next up is going to be my favorite issue of last week, for sure, which was Batman White Knight, 7 of 8, by Sean Murphy, colored by Matt Hollingsworth. The colors are great, man.
Man, this is some of the best comics. Just the absolute best.
This is all time. This is going to be, get the deluxe hardcover edition, maybe get the absolute edition, oversized, you know. It brings everything together. I really felt like this issue went a long way towards appeasing people who maybe didn't like the characterization of Bruce Wayne throughout the series.
Right.
But Batman gets way more sympathetic in this issue, especially with the reveal that the $3 billion a year Batman repair fund, that was like the entire reason any of the plot stuff happened in this comic, was always fully refunded by companies owned by Bruce Wayne.
Right. And
so Joker's whole rationale for taking him down because he was depleting the city of $3 billion a year was totally a non-issue.
That's funny.
You got to give Murphy credit for showing us this scene in the first issue of the comic and still making it a badass moment when it happens, when Joker shows up to ask Batman for help hunting down Neo Joker.
Batman's been waiting for him.
You knew it would happen. You knew it would happen. And we get an interesting twist with the story of Jason Todd in the Batman White Knight universe.
Yes.
Which is, we find out that, unlike in the regular Batman universe, Jason Todd was not killed by the Joker. He was tortured. He did reveal Batman's identity, but he was released. He was let go alive because he admitted to the Joker that he wished he had never met Bruce Wayne, and that he hated him for making him Robin. Mm-hmm. And that is some juicy setup for White Knight 2, baby.
Also in this universe, Jason Todd is the original Robin.
Yes.
Being replaced by...
Dick Grayson?
Dick Grayson, thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's literally just because Sean Murphy didn't know enough about Batman. He literally didn't know that Dick Grayson was the first Robin, and he's writing the best Batman comic of the year.
That's amazing. That's why it's the best. He's not over-influenced.
So the major twist of this issue is that it seems like the meds aren't working anymore.
He keeps flashing back between Jack Napier and Joker.
At this point, Joker has become essentially a Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Like and it does seem that his transformations are physical as well as mental. Like his skin whites out, his hair goes green whenever he reverts.
Yep.
We get some more excellent Batmobile pornography in this issue with all the different Batmobiles taken off.
Yep.
I just love that the '60s Batmobile is in the fleet, and Gordon continues to insist on driving the Tim Burton mobile,
which is awesome.
On the very last page, it seems like Jack Napier may have lost all control, and that the Joker is fully in command once again, heterochromia intact.
Oh yeah, he's back.
So we'll see where that ends up. There's only one issue left, guys, and it's on time as far as I know. We'll be getting it in like 3 weeks.
Oh man, cannot wait.
It is the best, man. Like Sean Murphy, this dude knocks it out of the park every time.
You should give me all of those. Let me read through them.
I think that even though we've talked about this on the podcast, this will be worth doing a special episode on just the whole series in general once it's all been collected, reading it through all together as one unit.
Yeah, I second that.
This is an all-time. This is going to be in there with your Dark Knight Returns and your Court of Owls as like the things that bookshelves are going to have on the shelf all the time.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and I also just in general like the idea of going back and talking about some of the best things that we actively talk about week to week.
Yep. Absolutely. One that put a dent in its plans to join that crew was issue 3 of Thrawn.
Really?
Which was a snooze.
But weren't you guys enjoying it up till now?
Oh, yeah, good.
But Thrawn is hardly in this issue.
And they decided they needed, like, a clumsy female version of him, because she's just, like... The character that we follow in this is this woman who's introduced in this issue is an imperial officer at this point, I guess, or a governor.
Yeah.
But she's a tertiary character in Thrawn's orbit. She just they kind of use each other in order to achieve their common goals as she works her way up from like the heiress to a mining corporation.
Yeah.
And eventually becomes a governor after being on Coruscant in the Empire for a while.
Right, and it seems like all her bosses are trying to scam her or get her arrested, blackmail her.
Right.
At which point she does something like a transfer and then comes back for revenge later in her own way. It's it's not very interesting.
She just keeps asked to betray people, and then she goes up to the people that are asking her to betray someone and being like, "I'll just help you. Stop trying to blackmail me."
Yeah,
I got dirt on this. I'll sell out all my people.
So that's the whole issue.
Do you know what I did like?
Yeah.
A Togorian shows up.
Yeah, that is cool.
In the Han Solo prequel novels by Aaron Alston, not the original Han Solo prequel novels, but the later ones that detailed Han's like actual youth.
Okay.
They did have his original furry companion was a Togorian, his name was Meowth or something like that. And that's the only time, as far as I know, that these guys have shown up in any continuity. And I really liked those books, so it was really cool to have one of them show up, even though Thrawn totally Mary Sues him in a martial arts fight.
Yeah.
But this issue is literally like, you think Thrawn's a Mary Sue? Well, look at this bitch.
Well, so is it just a boring issue, or does it feel like the SJWs got their hands on it?
It isn't quite SJW-ish. It's just like there better be a point to this character real soon,
right?
Because we were really enjoying the story of Thrawn, and if she has a good point, fantastic. Like if interesting, great. If it's just we decided this book about Thrawn and his aide needed a chick too, that's not good.
Then it got SJW'd,
right? So we'll see. I'll continue to pick it up, but
we will see.
Last but not least is issue 2 of Robert Kirkman's Oblivion song, which I did read.
You did read this one?
I did read this one.
What did you think of it?
I am interested in where the series is going.
That's kind of how I feel, too. Overall, after reading it, I felt pretty good about it. I mean, I enjoyed the art. I liked the art a lot, actually.
Yeah, I do like this artist style. I'm not familiar with Lorenzo De Felici's previous work, but he's going for a style that... I can't remember the name of the other guy, but he's drawn the Cave Carson books for DC right now. Agent Powers, back in the day.
Yeah.
He's going for that sort of, like, almost exaggerated style.
Yep.
Like, where it's like, I'm going to simplify things almost to an anime level, but then add a bunch more lines in.
It's true. But everything is very clear, and I mentioned that I like that in my comics. And they do a lot of this color contrasting, which I also enjoy.
Yeah.
Overall, the plot has a lot of potential. It's not fully fleshed out yet, but I love the part in this one where they have the giant, like, mammoth monster. That was a little earlier. That thing is awesome, and the fact that they mentioned that it came into their world and it started just smashing things like crazy and it took out tons of stuff. Like, imagine that
thing.
It's like 10 times the size of a mammoth.
Yeah, that's a Pacific Rim monster.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And then just nestled down where it showed up and took a lot of army to kill. But, it's solid. It does read like it's trying to get picked up for TV.
I actually get some similarities while reading this with reading Versus, just because of the fact that they're kind of set up in this. It's a fight to live universe, but that one's Versus super sci-fi, while this one is kind of more. While it is sci-fi, it's more.
It's biological sci-fi instead of technological sci-fi.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like a Stranger Things universe that they're going into.
But the monsters are so much cooler because they don't make sense.
Right.
Yeah, no, great comic. I actually want to read more of that one, definitely.
It's on my pull list at the store, so we'll be getting all the issues.
All right, fantastic. Well, I think that wraps up one more fantastic episode of the LAAGCast. Am I right, fellas?
Yep, that's it. Will, tell them where they can find us.
All right, folks. So, if you want to get all the updates from us and occasionally hear the interesting thing we have to say, you should follow us on Twitter at _LAAG. That's LAAG. LAAG with 2 A's. _LAAG. You can also find where to follow me and Max on Twitter through that. Then, if you want to send us an email with any comments or anything you want to say at all, send it to laagentertainment@gmail.com. We're also at Lag Entertainment on Libsyn and on YouTube as well. Although on YouTube, it's not quite our username yet. You have to get a few more followers before they allow you to do that. So you just look up Lag Entertainment and you'll find our videos. Yep. And we'll soon be on iTunes, probably a couple weeks from now, but that will be coming up. And eventually I'm going to put up our old library on probably YouTube only because other places have storage limits. But eventually that'll be available, so keep an eye out for that.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in, and this has been the second official episode of the LAAGCast.
Thanks, folks.